Joining us via Zoom is Michael Connory, who's the CEO of Security in Depth. And for those of you that don't know Security in Depth, it's a global company founded on cybersecurity. And what they do is they provide cybersecurity management strategies and support to a number of organisations in Australia and also to companies increasingly around the world because they know what they're doing. Michael, welcome.
George, good to be here.
I've got to ask you first up. What have you made of what transpired just over the last week or so with the Nine media conglomerate? We're talking newspapers, we're talking television stations and radio stations. They were crippled, it seems, and they've jumped up very quickly and accused Russia. They're saying it was a state-sponsored hack. How much of that can I believe? How much of it is on the money? And how much of it is just a little bit of delusion?
Okay, so first and foremost, I believe that that's it's over the top. I don't believe.
So it was an overreach?
It's a significant overreach. I don't believe that this was a state-sponsored attack at all. It's good media, you know. On Channel 9 on Sunday night, they had 60 Minutes attacking North Korea. On Monday night, they had the investigative report discussing Putin and Russia. The reality is that neither Putin nor Kim Jong-un care about Channel 9 in that particular way to try to bring down the entire organisation. It was great publicity for them, though.
Okay, so who's responsible?
Well, personally, and this is from my own observation and research, I believe that the attack it originally came out of Australia, that an Australian individual purchased a Russian hacker for hire to target and bring down Channel 9.
Now, are you telling me this is something that anybody can do?
Absolutely. It's, on the dark web. You can go to any number of forums or online services. Russian hackers specifically promote their services for hire. They will talk about attacks such as ransomware, which is this particular kind of attack. They'll talk about denial of service attacks. They'll talk about a whole range of different attacks that they can actually do or they can outsource for only a small amount of money. In this instance, this could be as low as a few hundred.
This seems to me an incredible way of going out there to encourage businesses and firms around the country and around the world to shore up their defences.
Well, as you and I have discussed numerous times, 95% of companies across Australia aren't cyber ready, aren't cyber resilient, haven't got the capability of being able to manage a cyber attack under any circumstances. And to give you an idea, after this attack occurred, we went out to 20,000 organizations and we did a review, a quick survey of those organizations. And we got the stats that came back was 53% said that they believed that they could withstand an attack like what occurred on Channel 9. 47% of organizations said that they had no idea if they could be able to manage that attack or stop that kind of attack. So, you're talking about half the country readily saying that they're not prepared, and the other half of the country saying, yep, absolutely, we're prepared. But in our experience, they're not.
Okay,
so
let's try and break this down. How much of it is to do with government responsibilities, the pathways, the signals, the major internet tools, and how much of it is down to each and every firm?
I think it's split between. I think government must take a stronger stance around cybersecurity in Australia. They haven't. They're trying to take this gentle approach to help organisations upgrade their systems, upgrade their services. It's just too slow and it's not working. And organisations need to also take responsibility. I mean, things such as patching their servers for Exchange. We knew that 80,000 odd servers were vulnerable as of last week, and Microsoft had been communicating that there was vulnerabilities on this for a good month. And Australian organisations were being attacked, and Australian companies weren't doing anything about it.
Okay, we're talking beyond software. We're talking firmware and others, aren't we?
No, this is software.
This is all software.
So this is just upgrading your software, patching your software, making sure that your software is the latest version, rather than an old version where hackers can find vulnerabilities or know that vulnerabilities exist and actually exploit those vulnerabilities.
From your experience, how did you think this attack, this hacking attack, or this cyber security intrusion happened? Did it happen in the form of an email? Did it happen in some other fashion?
I'm not 100% sure how this Channel 9 was attacked. My personal belief, again, is that it was somebody opening an email that they shouldn't have and clicking on a link or on a document that they shouldn't have. Or secondly, it could have been somebody actually utilizing the Exchange infrastructure, the Microsoft infrastructure that occurs and that is in Channel 9, and utilizing the vulnerabilities to get into the system that way.
Michael Connory, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, we had the world telling us that we had to go digital, we had to go online, and this was the future, and there would be companies out there that would protect us. Your company is just one of those leading companies that's going out there and creating strategies to protect companies. That's what you do. That's your hallmark. That's why I love the brand. It's security in depth. But here we are. It's 25 years on. And it seems to me that the scoundrels, the hackers, are in front of everyone else who is meant to be protecting the system, including the police.
Absolutely. I mean, the amount of money that hackers are stealing, so essentially cybercrime on a global basis, is close to $5 trillion a year.
Mate, that's major business. That's as big as anything.
That's as big as any organization globally, bigger than most organizations globally. Cybercrime is its own economy. It is that big. And yet, in Australia, we know, as an example, Australians lost 36 billion. It cost $36 billion last year, cybercrime in Australia.
So now, fraud
and
online, fraud
and
online.
That comes from Peter Dutton. That comes from Peter Dutton's own mouth, communicating that cybercrime cost Australians 36 billion. Then we have a look that the Australian government's only going to invest 1.6 billion over a decade to try to stem this. It's just not enough. It's not okay.
We spoke to a digital entrepreneur a little earlier in the day, and we talked to him, and I asked him a very similar question to the one I've asked you on more than one occasion, and that is, why are the social media platforms making it so easy for the fraudsters, the avatars, the fakes to get on and do business? And you know what his response was? Because at the end of the day, it's all about casuality. It's all about, no one really wants to put in 4 or 5 or 6 lines of registration because they won't join. They won't open up an account. So in order to make things work, in order for things to keep going, they say, hey, what's your email? And here's your account start. And from that, any number of things can happen. And this is not going to get better unless businesses, those social media platforms, and the providers actually say, no, we've got to draw a line in the sand, and what's been happening, we can't let it continue.
It's not just the social media platforms, but yeah, you're right. I remember talking to a large bank a decade ago and talking to the CEO of one of the banks. And I think at that stage, we saw $20 million of cyber fraud going out annually. We said we could actually fix this and it would stop it. It would cost them $5 million to stop 20 million going out.
And what was the response?
The CEO came back.
Go on.
The CEO came back, one of the big four, the CEO came back and said, no, we're not going to do it. We'll take the 20 million loss. It's significantly more now, but we'll take the 20 million loss because user experience is significantly more important to us. We want than cybersecurity.
That's
and
loony.
This is the same with technology and the social platforms. The user experience is significantly more important than cybersecurity.
Wow. Well, that is mind-numbing stuff to hear from someone at that level, responding to a very simple plug.
That was back a decade ago, but it hasn't changed significantly. Now, the other thing that hasn't changed and that we need to change is we need organizations, especially the technology companies that are creating software and these platforms, we need to have them build security into their platform right from the word go. So what's occurring is that you have a great idea. These visionaries, these technologists, they have great ideas. They want to be able to make the world a better place. They want to be able to provide a piece of software or a platform that makes the life easier for everybody. So they go and do it, but they don't build it with security. They don't build it with security by design. So there's no security built into most of the technology these days.
Wow.
It's happening over Europe. It's now law in Europe that this has to occur. But in Australia, in the US, more of this has to happen, and it's not. And that's one of the reasons why there's going to be consistent failures in technology, and hackers are always going to be able to get in.
And I'm also aware too that there's another problem where now they're actually building all these new PCs, and there's firmware that has malware in it already built into it. I mean, where do you go? It's crazy stuff.
It's not just PCs. As an example, those individuals who have Android phones, and phones are a great way of being able to exploit somebody these days. So I think it's the statistics are that 40% of all the software that's available for Android phones that you load up on it, they're malicious. They've got backdoor availability to your phone to what's going on in your system. And it's allowing hackers, it's allowing third parties to be able to access all your contacts, all your texts, all your emails, your GPS location where you are at any particular point of time, your photos, your pictures, your calls. It's all there.
We better stop before you scare me any further. Again, the only advice that we have is to do what you need to do and seek out a professional and get the best advice about your home, about your business, and about your personal phone. Is that the advice that you keep rubbing my way or throwing my way each and every time I ask you?
We keep saying the same, and I've kept saying the same things over and over again.
You've been consistent for a year. We've been talking about this for a year.
And George, to give you one idea,
yep.
We just had a look at some statistics over the last 48 hours. We've been talking about COVID scams and COVID issues,
yep.
And we've been sharing it, on this platform, on other platforms, in the general news media, in print, on radio. And we saw yesterday, I think it was, we've seen 6,120 individuals report cyber incidents around COVID where they've been, where they've had their information or money stolen. And the costs are in the millions. And we've been talking about this for a year, and people are still clicking, people are still being taken advantage of.
Michael Connory, as always, thank you very much for sending up a host of flares and making us think outside the square. Again, talking to the CEO of Security in Depth, Michael Connory. Catch you next week.
Thanks, George. Talk to you later.
And by the way, don't answer any calls from Russia.
Sorry?
Don't answer any calls from Russia.
It's not the calls from Russia that I'm worried about, so.
Bye.